As you're watching them, never miss a moment of the Olympic Games.
What a moment!
On the BBC Sport website.
All right, Paul Hardcastle coming in for a chat after this.
In 1965, Vietnam seemed like just another foreign war. But it wasn't. It was different in many ways, and so were those who did the fighting. In World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, he was 19. 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 19.
The heaviest fighting of the past 2 weeks continued today, 25 miles northwest of Saigon.
I wasn't really sure what was going on.
19. In Vietnam, the combat soldier typically served a 12-month tour of duty, but was exposed to hostile fire almost every day. 19.
In Saigon, a U.S. military spokesman said today more than 700 enemy troops were killed last week in that sensitive border area. Throughout all of South Vietnam, the enemy lost a total of 2,689 soldiers.
Administration study, half of the Vietnam combat veterans suffer from what psychiatrists call post-traumatic stress disorder. Many vets complain of alienation, rage, or guilt. Some succumb to suicidal thoughts. 8 to 10 years after coming home, almost 800,000 men are still fighting the Vietnam War. None of them received the hero's welcome.
Paul Hardcastle, 19. Paul Hardcastle says, hello, Paul.
Hello, mate. How are you doing?
Great, how are you? I was just asking,
really well.
Do you ever, do you ever listen to that back much? Do you ever...
Well, I do sometimes. I mean, it still gets played a lot. Did you not hear it on the Olympics the other night?
No.
When we got to 19 medals. Did you know?
Genius.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. And the thing was, when I first took 19 into Chrysalis, everyone looked at me as if I was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, there was 2 people that said that it could be a hit, and the rest of the company went... Don't
Who
want
are
to
the
know.
2 people?
Simon Fuller.
Yeah.
And a guy called Ken Grumbaum.
Whatever happened to them?
Ken was actually the promotions man for Chrysalis.
Yeah.
And he actually he just stuck his neck out and said, listen, I don't agree with you all. And they looked at him as though like to say, well, on your head be it.
Yeah.
Anyway, cut a long story short, you know what happened with the record.
Who was in charge of Chrysalis at the time?
Chris
Wright,
Wright,
yeah.
Yeah, and Doug Darcy.
So they must have sort of trusted Fuller and...
Well, no,
know,
they
to
said
take
to
a
me
punt on
afterwards, after they said no, it would never get played on radio, they said to me, well, we knew this was going to be a big hit. And that was my first eye-opener, to the music business. It was It showed me a lot, really. But, yeah, Simon, he was working at Chrysalis, and he said, well, look, what about if I just leave Chrysalis, become your manager, and let's see how we get on. And I thought, okay, fine. I was so green, Dermot, I didn't even know what a manager did at the time. And
that's how 19 Management came along, right?
Totally, yeah. He named his company.
No idea where that came
He named
from.
his company after the big 19 and stuff. And he's my best man at my wedding, so we're still very close and stuff.
I met him a couple of times. Charming guy, and it's just
he's the shy one. He's the shy Simon. He doesn't want to basically be in the limelight at all, which I understand. It's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go forward before we go back, as it were. You're doing promo at the moment because you've 19 Below Zero. Now, is that the album? That's like 9 or so tracks that you've just found, or
no,
it's remastered, or
some of them are brand new tracks. But I think the interesting one is I actually found an old master that I had in the loft, and I know everyone says in the loft, but that is where all my stuff is actually kept because it's quite shaded and stuff. And it was off a cassette that I've taken some of this. Some of the track on 19 Below Zero, and I thought, wow, that was what Chrysalis could have had, but I never gave it to him. I gave him the version that obviously you all know. So this has never been heard before, and what I did, I took it off the cassette, bounced it, did some trickery-pokery with it, added some vocals from my daughter, Max.
How old's your daughter?
She's 25.
Right,
you thought I was going to say 19, didn't you?
Is that just your default answer to everything? 19. And is she in the music industry as well?
She's doing great. I mean, she's a DJ herself. She's featured a lot on the new album. She's actually, I don't know if you know, but I've actually got an album out also at the moment for Pasha.
Well, I was going to ask you later on about that.
Okay, let's leave that then.
Well, what's interesting is actually, it's like reading up about you yesterday. You sell more albums now than you did then, right?
I do, yeah. I've done 4 million albums in America.
So you just do your own thing now? Do you go... So when you presumably you don't tour, you do stuff and you just play it and it gets...
Totally. I mean, the fact is I've had
it?
It is, but do you know what? I have to be honest with you. There's nothing like... I mean, America's been fantastic to me, and for the last 12, 13 years, it's been... everything I could have imagined. But do you know what? There's nothing like actually doing something in your own country.
Yeah.
And I think, and when Universal approached me and said, look, we think we could put something together of some of your stuff here, blah, 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 I was more excited about that than all sort of like just knowing that I can sell albums.
But could you say, because there'd be a whole swathe of people that if you said, I'm going to go to a night with Paul Hardcastle, you'd go, yeah, I'd love to do that around the country. Could you put on a night? Could you do 19 and you be up there doing it? Or how did it work? How did it work?
I'll give you an example. If you look on YouTube, there's a thing where I opened up for the 19th anniversary of 19 Management at the Albert Hall. And Simon said to me, would you do it? And I was thinking, wow, how can I make this look good? Because, it's quite a difficult record. I never ever appeared on Top of the Pops doing it.
It was just a video, wasn't it?
It was just a video. And I
remember it, because honestly, being a kid and watching it, it sort of changed the way you looked at music. It was one of those proper zeitgeist moments.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you speak to people like a younger generation about Top of the Pops now, they look at you like you're insane. Like you had to wait a week for a TV show.
That's right, exactly.
And then a chart. And the TV show was like on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
And this chart would go out on a Sunday. And people looking going, well, you had to wait till Thursday till you saw the video.
It's so instant now. That's the difference with the digital age.
It was we would sit down and we'd watch it as a family.
Yeah.
Me and my sister, it would define what we listened to.
Sure, totally.
So suddenly, you're not there. No one's lip syncing. No one's even singing live. It's just this video and cut together and stuttered.
Yeah.
And I remember it just blowing my mind. I was a young kid at the time. I
mean, the thing was, with Top of the Pops and stuff like that, I believed that I should have stayed out of the way. I'm not one that's an artist that's always been in people's faces, and I think this is my 30th year, and I think that's helped me, for people not to go, oh, not him again. It can do that. And so I just believed that it wouldn't be any good for me to be on Top of the Pops. But going back to the thing I was going to say about the YouTube, if you look on YouTube and just type in Paul Hardcastle 19 Albert Hall, you can see when I did it. And Simon, he sort of said to me, would you do this for me? I was like, I don't really want to do 19. He said, whatever you need. So I got millions of dancers, I had lasers, everything I asked for, he supplied.
Great thing about Simon Fuller is you can go, well, it might cost you a bit of cash to put it on, but if you want to...
He didn't care, mate.
Exactly.
It was his party.
Quite
and
right
stuff.
Too.
And so, so I did it on that. And I could do it with the right sort of thing. But
Would you like to do a tour of new stuff and old stuff? And
I mean, I've been asked so many times to do it in America, and that's where it would be really lucrative for me. But do you know what? I'm happy actually being Paul, the normal guy from down the road that sort of would rather go out on his push bike. You know, I've got a comfortable, decent life, and I just don't look for always chasing that thing. It's like now this new album, you know, they're saying, well, would you like to do an album? And I thought, yeah, it'd be great to sort of speak to people in the UK again, because there's new stuff to talk about. It's all fresh, and there's loads for me to talk about.
But it must be nice to go up to your loft and actually find something like that, and then, you know, you end up doing 9 new tracks. You've got, you know, a 2011 remix of what's going on, and
well, that's just before I forget, sorry to interrupt you, but that's the one thing that really blew me away in the last 5 years, what I've done. The fact that I got permission from Marvin Gaye's family to basically use his vocal.
Wow.
That, to me, was... I mean, it took me nearly a year to actually get, you know, the permission, because it had to go through Universal, through Motown. But I did have a little in with Motown, because I was actually signed to Motown in 1991 with, do you remember Jackie Graham? Mm-hmm. We actually formed a band together. We called ourselves Kiss the Sky.
She do Ain't Nobody?
No, that was Chaka Khan.
No. Ain't Nobody. No. What? Ooh, Gary Davis. Did she do the...
Wow, we are going back. Ooh, Gary Davis.
Yeah, she did a jingle for Gary Davis. And I think
maybe.
Ain't nobody but Gary Davis when it was on Radio 1.
She well could have done, mate.
She didn't actually do
that.
Yeah,
maybe she could have done. But yeah.
She did Round and Around, I'm being told.
Round and Around, oh, totally, yeah. Could it be I'm Falling in Love with David Grant and stuff like that? So...
We're going to play 3 tracks.
Okay.
We've got 90 Below Zero, we've got The Wizard, and we've got Rainforest. Which one do you want to play first?
Let's go... What do you want to play? What do you want to play first? Come on, I've got a studio
I want to play
full
The
of
Wizard,
people.
but I want to talk about Top of the Pops. So I don't want to play The Wizard yet, because it all fits in.
You can't put the onus all on me.
Let's play a little bit of 19 Below Zero, because we've just played 19, so people are going to go, you crazy.
This is the lost mix of it, found and recreated in...
The Loft remix.
I like that. I like that, the Loft remix.
History keeps repeating itself.
This is the story of men who are victims of war. They all saw heavy combat in Vietnam. Although they were all decorated for heroism, none of them received a hero's welcome. In 1965, Vietnam seemed like just another foreign war. But it wasn't. It was different in many ways. And so were those who did the fighting. In World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, he was 19. This is one legacy of the Vietnam War.
90 Below Zero, Paul Hardcastle. So, Paul, you essentially, you wanted to strip it back like that when you...
Yeah, totally. I mean, you know, the original lot obviously is like in your face, bang, orchestra stabs, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted this one to basically sound a little bit more listenable. I mean, obviously you could listen to the original, but this one is more... somber is the word, somber or whatever, that makes people sort of go, wow. And that was the test, if I could actually take a record that was up-tempo, dance, bang, crash, and actually still have the same vibe, but slowing it down. And it does, it works.
When you originally wrote it, was the inspiration sort of post-traumatic stress disorder of Vietnam? Were you sort of having a story?
In a real nutshell.
As kids, especially over here, in America it's different, but as kids, I mean the only Vietnam reference I had as a kid was that song Camouflage, which we played a couple. Remember that?
Okay, I do, yeah.
It's a joke song, really. I mean, it's awful. But whereas this was it's quite a hard-hitting song, 19.
Well, I think what I did with 19 was I made it very clear what I was talking about. You know, there was lots of... I think even Steely Dan did a track called Hey 19. Loads of people have done stuff about the Vietnam War, but they never had the stomach, really, to just say, look, bang, this is in your face. They always try to weave around it a little bit. So what I actually did, I just said, right, I'm either going to make this record how I want to make it or not bother at all. And that's what I basically did.
I mean, there was some great literature. I don't know if you ever delved into it. Some great literature and books off the back of Vietnam.
Oh, totally. I mean, do you know what? I'm now in lots of different school curriculum things where they're in the poetry books and stuff like that, which is, it's nice to leave something like that.
Huge. It's a legacy, that, isn't it?
But I mean, it was all, you know, in a nutshell. Basically, I was watching the TV one day, and I happened to tape this program on an old Betamax recorder. And
oh man, you didn't bag Betamax over VHS, you loser!
Listen, I used to be a hi-fi salesman, mate. They were the better quality.
I know, why didn't they win? It didn't make no sense they didn't win.
I can't say on air why they didn't win, actually.
Okay, well, don't say on air.
No, better not. Does anyone know? Does actually anyone know?
Well,
apparently,
the PR was better for VHS, right?
No, apparently there was a lot more to do with pornography on VHS
When you said you couldn't say,
I'm just saying it because I'm looking at Ben over there, and he's sort of not saying, he's not looking at me with a cutthroat.
It's not a dirty word. So
he's not just going, you're just about to be taken off air, Paul.
Listen, you started out not as a motorbike racer, but you were going to be a motorbike racer.
I always wanted to be. I lived for motorbikes. And my first job was a dispatch rider, which I remember earning, I think it was £12 a week, but I was so happy to be on my little fizzy moped, running around the city and just being on this moped. I then got a bigger bike, and I put myself in hospital for 4 months. I had 3 compound fractures in my leg, really serious stuff. And I remember waking up and thinking, wow, I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
And it was in hospital that I was just listening to the radio and started listening to some dance music. And I thought, I'm sure I could do that.
And did you play any instruments at the time?
Well, my dad, I could play the drums a bit. My dad was a musician, but I'd never really sort of tried keyboards or anything like that. And what I did, I had a video camera from my job as a hi-fi salesman. I'm losing you now. Anyway,
I'm not zoning out. I'm listening.
I've swapped it. I swapped it for a synthesizer, which you could play one note on, and I just started teaching myself. And 3 months later, I sort of lied my way into a band. It was called Direct Drive. I said I'd been playing for 2 years and took these tapes and stuff. They let me in it, and then all of a sudden I left the band, and I made a track called Rainforest, which
we'll play in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Your first 2 tracks got to number 41.
Yeah,
now I know
tell me about
nowadays that means nothing. It just means that you hit number 41. Then to get just outside the top 40.
Well, you can tell me. You know exactly it, because straight away. See, at the time, Dermot, dance music was really a no-no with radio, BBC Radio, with most radio. It was just an underground thing. And to have 2 records stop at 41, where you would then get the national rundown and stuff like that, and then obviously you would go a bit higher. And I just thought, this is never going to happen. And yet 19 went in at 4 and then to 1.
So 19 was your third single?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it went in at 4, so that 4-1.
And no one backed you apart from Fuller and the other
Ken
guy?
Grumbaum,
Ken Grumbaum sounds so cool as well.
He was. He's
a cool-sounding name.
He's a good guy. He's a really nice guy.
Do the 3 of you ever get together? Do you ever get together?
I spoke to Ken. We've just done a few bits of PR on this. I think it was for the Times or something we've done. I think it's called Records That Changed the Face of Dance Music.
Well, I was going to say, had you any idea when it went out that it was going to change... or I guess, when did you realise it was going to change your life in terms of the recognition it got? Because it wasn't just a UK hit, was it? It was such an international hit.
No, it was number 1 in 13 different countries. I think when I looked and I saw that the record was launched on News at 10, then... Simon was saying to me, there's no way that we can't have a hit with this now. Because I was always going, it's all right, you're all saying this. And because I'd been sort of like really taken back with having 2 41s. I was convinced that was it. I wasn't supposed to have a hit,
Yeah. Let's play a bit of Rainforest now. Okay. Is any variations of Rainforest on the new album?
Yes, there is. There's a new version that's basically been remastered, and also there's different edits in it and different stuff that I've overdubbed just to give it one last feel. I mean, I'm not going to go back to Rainforest or 19 ever again after this, but because of this album, it's a double album. I had space to give people, as much music as they wanted.
Great stuff. Okay. Listen, Paul, I don't know. Are we playing the right track or the wrong track? I don't know what's going on.
We're going to confess up here, aren't we? Listen, who cares? It's something.
It's one of yours, right?
It's one of mine. That's actually called Solar Sky, and that was Maxine doing the high-pitched vocals.
Got a nice voice, your daughter.
Yeah, I said to her, do you think you could sound sort of very... is it choralistic? What's the word I'm looking for? Like a girl chorister, whatever, however you say that. And she came up with the bits on there.
I just said that's very Ibethan, and so you're doing this thing for passion now as well, right?
Yeah, and like I said, it's quite funny. One of the sort of magazines actually said, is Paul really relevant, to dance music anymore? And then all of a sudden, I get a call from Pasha, and they say, would you make an album for me? So I might have answered that one.
Well, for you as well, as a dance music man, to make an album for Pasha, that's a box ticked, right? I mean, that's huge,
listen,
surely.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, the thing is, obviously, times move on, and I appreciate that. And people want sort of like to hear young kids and stuff, but to be asked to actually do an album for Pasha, and I sent in a few demos to Steve, a guy called Steve Hume who runs Pasha, and I just said, look, this is what I would say, and he said, great.
But you know what's interesting, because we had Ice-T on a couple of weeks ago, and you can draw parallels with hip hop and dance. In that yours is sort of the first generation now, and you're in your 50s now. It's first generation that's sort of you've got that legacy, and we've sometimes, I was saying to Ice-T, we sometimes play hip hop on the show, and people ring and go, I can't be, what are you doing with this new music? That song's 25 years old.
Totally, yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
It's, the heritage is there now. That's
totally.
And I mean, your generation, whether it's you or, I don't know, Carl Cox or someone like that, the heritage is there too.
I mean, what's really nice is basically I actually get a lot of people, like even the young producers, like, Rob DeBank's done a mix of 19 for me. And, I said to him, would you like to do one? And he said, I'd be honoured. And I've got lots of these people that are really doing well now, and they all say, look, if it hadn't have been for you, I'd have never got into this music business. That's a lovely thing to hear, isn't it? So
you can inspire young children, kids in one way, shape or form.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, hang on, what's this? You just give me what's going on, the Beach Chiller mix.
That's the one that's something that I'm really
I was going to play the Wizards.
Oh...
Which one do you want me to play? The Wizard one?
Mate, I think the Marvin one. I think... Listen, it took me a year begging, grovelling to get them to give me permission to use Marvin Gaye's voice. And when
it's 7 minutes, 54 seconds.
Just play a bit of it. I don't mind. Just hear Marvin. Cut me out. I don't mind. We want Marv.
Right on, baby. Right on, baby. Right on, right on. Don't punish me. Don't punish me. Don't punish me with brutality. Right on. Right on. Right on, right on.
Man, this is taking me back. I feel like I'm in Cafe Del Mar. Having a lovely little sundowner or something.
You like Ibiza, don't you?
I do. The weirdest thing is I'm not a huge dance music fan. I mean, I'm an indie kid. But there is something about Ibiza when you go there that it just sounds so natural, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
totally. Watching the sun come up and all that sort of stuff.
Listen, Paul, before we go, let you go, I just want to talk about sort of Top of the Pops and the Wizard at
Yeah,
the time.
of
Because you were on there doing Don't Waste My Time with Carol Kenyon, right?
That's correct.
And then they said to you, the guy who was in charge at the time, who was like probably one of the most powerful men in music at the time.
Michael Hurl, he was great, and there was a little story, but do you want me to tell you quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Well, basically, what happened? I recorded the Wizard for him. He said I was doing Don't Waste My Time. He said, "Could you do a new theme tune?"
Time 107.5.
And I said, "I've just been asked to do the Top of the Pops theme," and he went, "You're joking." He didn't believe me. Anyway, cut a long story short, I had just bought this new thing called a synclavier, and it was the very first record ever that was done totally digitally, meaning that there wasn't digital tape. It was the first hard disc recorders, and I got it from America. And basically, I recorded on that in 2 days. He said, "Could you do it really quick?" So it took me 2 days to do the Wizard. I sent it over to Michael, and he said, "Love it, thank you, very great." So that's how the Wizard came about.
But they couldn't. At the time, they had this thing. When I was reading up that all the EastEnders cast or whoever were coming out with.
Right, that's what I was going to say. They wouldn't. Well,
and so Radio 1 wouldn't play it, right?
No, and the guy that was plugging it for me at the time, Ollie Smallman, he came back. He said they don't want to play it. So
because it's a TV tune.
Because it was, and it was right. All the stuff was EastEnders making records.
Every
and everyone
loser wins and all
exactly,
that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So basically, they weren't going to play it. So what Michael Hurl did, he really took exception to that, and it showed the power of the guy. He said, "I'll show them if they're not going to play it." It was the first time that Top of the Pops had ever played a record that wasn't in the top 40, the week before, and it was showing on the midweek. I think it was something like 64, and it went in. I think it was about 32. Then obviously went and became a big hit.
Yeah,
and he played the Wizard video the week before release. He had every link between, like when Gary Davis would be saying, right, and coming up now, here's the next top 40. All the rundowns, he did the whole lot. And he really showed
I like the
his
fact
power.
Gary Davis has had more than one mention in this interview.
Well, we've got to write Ian.
Love the Davis.
All the rest of it.
Listen, we're going to finish up with the Wizard. Thanks, Paul. You're going to dedicate this to a mate of yours, right? Lives down the road.
Yes, I would, please. This is going to go out to Paul and Michelle and Jack Higgs, who sadly their daughter and their sister died on Monday, and her age was only 18. Her name was Emily Higgs. She was a lovely, lovely kid, and I don't want to put it as a downer because they want to really celebrate her life, but I just thought that it would be nice to give them a mention.
Thanks so much. 19 Below Zero, is it out now? When's it out?
Oh no, you've got a heads up here, mate. It's October.
15th of October, 2012.
That's
Listen, I'd love to. I hope you tour and do something like that? Just because it'd be so much fun to go and dance to a song about the Vietnam War.
You've sort of
actually,
planted a
yeah,
bit of a seed into my mind now. You know, it's.
I want a cut of that. Full Hardcastle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dermot. Cheers, man.
What a great guy. It's just, if you love music, then you've got to love music history, and that guy's one of the forerunners in dance music. What's not to love? Paul Hardcastle, the Wizard. Still to come, we've got Tim Burgess coming up at the last hour of the show.
Join Hardeep Singh Kohli for a road trip of Indian Britain.
You said